yeah, I wanted to celebrate with everybody because that's one of the things that I love most, to
Yeah. Yeah.
celebrate your accomplishments, because I believe we don't do that enough, because then once we have a goal, we raise the criteria for ourselves, and so we have a next goal, and we never really sit and enjoy the moment. Like, we have come so far, and we already talked now, Patricia and I, but like, you have come so far from having Kika that didn't want to leave your side, that's starting to block you, and along the way she started to get showed some aggressive behaviors. You changed that already, but the fact that Kika, who didn't want to leave your side a few weeks ago, is willing to walk around and even trot around cones is amazing. It's really amazing. And
Even
it
if
should.
about it.
What? Sorry.
She's cross about it when she does it.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Like, we don't give ourselves enough credit for the things that we have taught our animals, because it is all training. And yeah, and like, the more conscious we are, um, yeah, the more influence we can have on the behavior of our animals, and the better trainers we will become. Let's see. So today, week 8 of positive reinforcement movement training, the next step in as your horse's personal clicker trainer or your donkey's personal clicker training. What's the next step? Well, first of all, I wanted to celebrate your results. So, Patricia, again, celebrate your results. What are the results that you have accomplished in the past 8 weeks and that makes you happy and proud? Share.
That's what makes me happy and proud, is the fact that I've unglued Kika and she was walking and trotting in a fashion round the 4 cones. So I feel that we've come quite a long way in the 8 weeks.
So yeah, that's amazing. It's so amazing because, yeah, like what I said, I had like, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, you did everything that you had to do, and you followed through, and the consistency, uh, yeah, gave you the results. So I'm super happy. I'm sad that the other people aren't here. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Um, so if you watch the recording, please do get back to me to celebrate your results. And then, yeah, let's talk a little bit about the learning points. Is there anything that you know that you have improved over these past 8 weeks?
I think, as you said, that I have improved my click treat technique. I think a bit. Yes, I'm not so slow with giving the treat. I think my timing has probably improved a bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, if you have the clarity when to click, it's easier to do it. And that all comes back to the shaping plan, and like, know what you do, what you want to do, and then how to do it. And yeah, for me, my own learning points in offering the course was just to put more emphasis on the feeding for position, because we all fed like too much too close to our bodies, which make the horses look to the inside, and then they start skipping cones. That's something that I realized was a very powerful thing. Um, so, and I've been guilty of it myself. And when I start doing like feeding them with their heads to the outside, now both of my horses, Fionn and Odin, are offering to give more space, get more space between themselves and the cones. And every time they make the rectangle bigger by themselves, because I don't have like the fence, is where I really keep reinforcing that. So then hopefully at the end they don't need the cones anymore. So yeah, learning points. Learning points are always good because then we realize that what we have improved, and things like timing and feed delivery are
Yeah,
challenging.
I think I also, talking of feeding for position, when I watch back videos, I noticed that I hadn't been going outside the rectangle so much as I could have done. So that was another learning point that I have to work on, actually.
Yeah, and I didn't tell you that you are allowed to step out of that
Yeah.
rectangle, step out of the track, whatever you need to do. So, yeah, that's something that when I rearrange the course for self-paced study, I will absolutely emphasize that. And also, I didn't realize that that was like, yeah, an issue that was like for multiple people a challenge. So um yeah, but that's also, yeah, you were all good listeners. And then it's going back to, I really want everybody to focus on the principle. What is the principle? The principle is I want to teach my animal to do this. How can I do that with my animal, with the history my animal has, with the behaviors my animal already knows, with who I am as a trainer, and then apply it, because just copying what somebody else is doing will probably never give you the results of the person you're copying. I remember like when I was in the 80s, like, or maybe it was 90s, Ankie van Grunsven, the Dutch dressage rider who won the Olympics. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
she rode her horse behind the vertical and really like rounded neck and the head really low. It's horrible. And I thought, let's try it, because apparently this is dressage. And the only thing that I knew was how to get to that result was pulling on the rein really hard. So I had to work more with my leg aids to keep the horse going, because they were like, whoa, you want me to stop or something? So I never got to that result, but just copying the end results, because it's also about like, yeah, you cannot copy somebody's chapter 20 if you are at chapter like 10 or 12 or 5. So it's really good to realize, and every training, and it's in week 1 in the training journal, like think about 1 or 2 or 3 things that went really, really well, because what we focus on, we create more of, and then 1 point that we want to focus on in order to improve, and that's your learning point. So let's go quickly through the 5 phases of force-free movement training, and I hope you recognize that you all in what phase you are. You start with teaching a clear two-way communication with your horse by positive reinforcement. You did this well. This is what you get back. This is the feedback that I get back from my animal. So I have to change this or that in order to, yeah, make training win-win and fun for both of us. Phase 2 is then, yeah, keep your horse engaged, raise your criteria slowly. In phase 3, yeah, straight lines. We can set up a rectangle, and remember that, like, what are the principles? A circle is really hard on the body. Straight lines are the easiest, and easy, which is reinforced positively, is fun, and hard is no fun. And then in phase 4, we are all arrived here. Absolutely, check mark for everybody. Where we can start raising criteria in training, like duration of the walk. You don't have to click and treat for every cone, but every second cone or every third cone, or maybe your horse can do already 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 cones for 1 click. The distance between the cones has increased. You worked on speed, walk, trot, and eventually canter, and the quality. That's also, and phase 4 is ongoing. It's never done. Like 1, 2, 3, you can check mark, nailed it. Phase 4 is something that is always, yeah, worth of improving. like the next steps could be like that you can really focusing on reinforcing that your horse is carrying himself or collects or bent properly, his head position, because if his head is high, then the back is low and they cannot walk as easily as if their head is in a different position. So that's all things that we can influence to make movement also more beneficial to our animals. And then phase 5 is generalization of the behavior. That's also an ongoing thing, like different context. There's no amount of context, there's no limit of context that we can train in. And the more we do that, the better the horses get in, like once they know how to do this clockwise, counterclockwise, and then different times of day, before feeding, after feeding, when other horses pass by or other horses are in the adjacent area. You can set up the same in the indoor arena, which is a completely different context. In the outdoor arena, like different kinds of weather will influence their behavior. But once they know trot means always trot, no matter if I'm in the indoor, outdoor, clockwise, counterclockwise, then you are really generalizing the behavior until you get to your dream results. And those results may differ. Like maybe your goal was to teach your horse to go around 4 cones in walk, but then eventually maybe you want to do this in trot and canter as well. So a recap of training a new behavior is it starts with some key lessons, the foundation lessons, and I will talk about that a little bit more. Set a clear goal. That is like, that's always the start, and make the goal in a way that you can measure it. Like not like I want more movement, because what is more movement? If you can say, okay, my horse can go around 1 cone. Now I want to teach my horse to go around 4 cones, or the distance between the cones will go from 5 meters to 15 meters. Then you have a clear goal that you can measure and that you can track. Then make a shaping plan. The shaping plan is always based on your situation, your animal, but there also will be different steps that are general steps. Like we start with the behavior, go around an object, go around 1 cone, keep the cone between you and the trainer, and how do we do that? And then going from cone to cone, so that there are similarities. And then depending on your horse, like some horses have already are taught different behaviors, so you can base your shaping plan on that. And then we have to start. No analysis paralysis, just start, because when you do so, we get valuable feedback from our training. In the beginning, absolutely sweet sessions, short sessions, and then we can build it up to longer sessions. And also like when we get further in training, we can reinforce behavior with other behaviors that are reinforceable. So that's something for Patricia to think about, what behaviors are reinforcing. For Kika, maybe she's really reinforced by following you. So maybe one track around 4 cones, it's reinforcing for her, because then she knows you will walk with her, for instance. We have talked about this. This is not the way we train horses, but for donkeys, movement is different than for horses. So this is just tailored advice for somebody who's training a donkey, not a horse. Track your training, and we can track our training in many different ways. We have done that with videos in this course, and hopefully also with a training journal, at least when we were in the Facebook group and telling others about our training. That's also a way to track your training, and writing things down will really help to let it sink in and analyze your behavior, your training, your results. That's always something that I like to do and recommend, because it makes you a better trainer. And then the key lessons for horses, for movement training, we needed the key lesson table manners, safe behavior around food, and treats in training. And that's also an ongoing thing because the value of our reinforcers can decrease or increase, like in summer or spring when there's lush green grass, like hay cubes are maybe not as enticing as in winter, and in winter something green like salad or celery, which is a fresh green, can be really high. Well, after maybe a couple of trainings using a special appetitive, it can decrease in value. So we always have to look at that and always see like the behavior that we're getting. If our horses get muggy, like, okay, we have to pay attention to key lesson, table manners. The second one is targeting. And once your horse knows how to target, like touch a certain body part to a certain object, this is nose targeting. We can teach hip targeting, knee targeting for Spanish walk, but then we can also use targeting as a training tool to go to the next cone. You can wave or show your horse the target stick, and then your horse thinks like, oh, I have to touch it, so I better move toward it. Then you can click and reinforce the movement instead of just the touching behavior. So that's how we can use targeting as a training tool, and I think it's undervalued, and we can use targeting in way more situations than we might realize. The third one is key lesson patience. It's also having a default behavior. For me, patience is when Kira stands next to me, or my horse stands next to me in a relaxed way. In this picture, she's having her head a little bit too high. She's not completely relaxed. And eventually, I also want to teach my horse to stand square. Why? Because when their weight is evenly dispersed, you can start other behaviors easier. So a default behavior, the power of default behavior is that it gives you also a communication tool. Like when Kira didn't know what I wanted to do, or she got frustrated because she didn't get the treat, but I raised my criteria and she didn't realize it, she offered her default behavior, which made me always realize, okay, you want the treat, which is perfectly fine. Here is your treat, even though I didn't cue you for this behavior, but it always made me realize, oh, I raised my criteria too fast, or I jumped from this behavior to that behavior and she didn't follow me. So key lesson patience is also teaching duration. So it helps you as a trainer to teach duration in a behavior. It gives you a relaxed horse. Like if you teach a horse to offer key lesson patience before you ask something else, then it will function as a starter button. Yes, I'm ready to do this, or as a default behavior. So one behavior can have many different communication signals. Mat training is targeting for feet. You can, once your horse stands on a mat, it's super important to realize, especially in mat training, to train the incompatible, almost opposite behavior. Like first we teach a horse to stand and step on a mat. Oh, my battery is running low. That means that I haven't plugged it in. I'm going to plug it in right now before I lose you. Just a second. Oh, I'm going to pause this. Your screen is paused. I have to find another socket. Oh wait, I think oh yeah, fixed it. I'm sorry about that. I resume share. Okay, this happened. Anyway, I thought I stopped the recording, but I stopped the screen sharing. So mat training is really valuable. First, we teach our horse to stand on the mat, but then we have to train the opposite behavior, like stepping off of the mat and reinforcing that, and also teaching a horse to ignore the mat, which also teaches a horse to offer different behaviors with the same object. It's the same with targeting. Targeting does not always mean that you have to touch the target. We can also reinforce our animals to ignore the target and only touch the target or move towards the target when we cue them. So the basic key lessons really helps us with training techniques like building duration, teaching cues, and teaching a horse that one object is a cue for different behaviors. So they always have to pay attention to what we are doing, our cues, because that will give them information about what to do. Do we have to step onto the mat, walk past the mat, ignore the mat, walk over the mat? What is it that you want? And that makes them also pay more attention to us. So the key lessons are really making us better trainers, and we can practice different training techniques. Then key lesson number 5 is head lowering. That really helps with teaching a horse to move properly. It can help us with haltering. If you have a really tall horse and you have the halter in front of them and you say lower your head, it will help them for that. There's many ways it can help calm a horse down. It can also help you check their anxiety levels. If you ask like head down, and they won't lower their head like to the ground, then you know they're anxious because they want to see their environment. Head lowering is also something that is really valuable in grass training, that you can cue your horse to graze, and you can teach that with key lesson head lowering. Or inspect a scary, potentially scary object that you say, I want you to check it out. Where's your curiosity? And then backing is the last one, that creates safety. It can create distance. It can help our horses unload from a trailer. Backing can help with muscle building, with teaching their horse to put the weight more on the hindquarters. I don't use it as a punishment. I don't ask backing for like more than 4 or 5 steps. Just only it's helpful. It's super helpful. It helps with crunches. Yeah, it's a basic behavior that can improve safety as well. Then we have 6 keys to success for trainers, which I'm always really excited about because I haven't seen other people talk about that, but I really realized, like, what do I need to teach people in order to become autonomous clicker trainers for their horse? Well, clear goals setting, and I call that key lesson training plan. But the training plan is really about having what is your dream behavior with your horse. So it's basically making a vision board. What are some of the behaviors that you really want to do with your animal? Is it like riding? Is it trail riding? Is it husbandry skills? All that kind of stuff. And then it's based on the principles of learning and motivation. The learning quadrant, but also the motivation. What motivates your horse? Is it the carrot? Is it something else? What is high value? What is low value? So key number 2 is the principles of learning and motivation. The third one is making a shaping plan, a written manual. It's a living document. How do we split our goal behavior up in super tiny steps so that our animals will understand what it is we want. A lot of other clicker trainers do talk about shaping plans, which I'm really excited about. And then the accountability. And I'm so sorry that you're not here, but the weekly accountability is something that can really help you getting the things done, because there's always life happening, or yeah, we have some other responsibilities that week. But if we know that we can come back the week after, and that we are in a group and training the animals with like-minded people that are all clicker trainers and positive reinforcement people, that really is such a big thing. And then track your training. So a training journal. This is a picture. Kira was a wild horse. In 2009, I got her. In the first 2 years, I still do that. I still make pictures and videos of all the behaviors that I've trained. But the first 2 years, I made them into a photo album, and I arranged them per month. So month 1 was all about haltering, approaching her, lifting her feet. And then November 2010, that was like 14 months after I got her, I moved her to a different boarding facility. And in November, we did some de-spooking and at the riding school where I was boarding her. So we had smoke, we had trikes, we had motorcycles, we had fireworks, we had balloons, pigs, all kinds of things. So that was one of the things that I really loved remembering. Like and by making a photo album, it really sinks in, and it's also part of celebrating your successes. So tracking your training is really helpful if you get another animal, like, oh, what did I do with my first donkey or my first horse, and it gives you some ideas. So tracking your training is really important. And then key to success, we have talked about that extensively in the other video, separate from this presentation, emotions in training, not only our own emotions, but also the emotions in our animals. We really want to have the feel-good emotions. There's not good and bad emotions, but there are some undesired emotions that inhibit learning, like too much frustration, or that can lead to aggression, will really not benefit us in training. So how can we keep our horses and animals, donkeys, happy, and ourselves happy? So it's really important to pay attention to the facial expressions and the body language, and see where our horse is at the emotional scale. If they're really happy and engaged, or if they're getting a little bit frustrated with us or with training in general. So these are the keys to success for trainers. And the secret sauce is consistency. So it's not really a secret, but for instance, when Kira got laminitis in 2016, she had a body score of 9. And then in the same year, in November, I was able to ride her already, because she's completely recovered from laminitis. And then in 2017, she was still in a good shape. And in 2018 and 19, she stayed in a healthy body score. But it was the consistency that really did it, because if you just have an overweight animal and you work them out for 6 weeks and you quit, chances are that you go back to where you started. So when you need support, this is the plugin for the Training Academy. Then you can keep going by becoming a member of the HippoLogic Training Academy. Go to clickertraining.ca. And now we are at the questions. Thank you for being here, Patricia. I'll stop the recording.